again, you can listen to us on the internet, www.wlea.net. Big news this past week, of course, as many of you know, regarding Patterson's desire to put the state workers on furlough. It's kind of a tough thing for me. I think about these guys and their families, and I imagine it would be really hard. On the other hand, my husband is not a union guy. Most of us, actually, in this area are not union workers, and I guess the unfortunate thing for me is most of us regular Joes and Janes, if our employer says, look, things are bad right now, and you either have to take this one day off without pay, or you're going to lose your job. And most of us would just have to make a decision at that point, do I want to keep my job or do I want to lose my job? But unfortunately, it doesn't work that way with union leadership, so they are fighting this. I did find it interesting, some of the things Patterson said about this, and Patterson, whom I rarely agree with, but I read his statement that I actually got off here at CanistosValleyNews.com. And he said regarding the state workforce, quote, we agreed that we would come up with $250 million of workforce reduction. They, meaning the unions, have not agreed to a dime of workforce reductions. They could come up right now and add to the lag period of 5 days, which I'm sure we'd be able to give them back when we had a more prosperous revenue stream. We've asked them to take on that added 5 days of lag period, and that would end the discussion right now. They would not. He said it would generate $250 million, this furlough, or the adding on of the 5-day lag period. They could delay some of their increases, 4% this year, which is higher than the national average. It's higher than the New York average. For, as I said, the rest of us are not getting 4% wage increases or raises. But apparently, if you work for the government, that you are entitled to that raise. They are not doing that. Patterson again said, you can't say nuts to everything. At some point, you have to be part of the sacrifice that we're all making. And if they're not going to make it, he says, I've been sued before. Oh, well, he's going to push this furlough period. And after 8 weeks, we'll give the state the $250 million they need. Also, as you may know, today in Hornell at the State Building, they are going to have a rally for union workers at noon. They're doing that across the state. So if you disagree with me, feel free to voice your opinion today at noon at various areas across the state. Also, state news, this is that time of year where all the anti-gunners come out in full force with all of their various bills. Some of them seem simple, and the media, just picks out a few that seem reasonable. But the reality is, they throw a whole bunch of them together into the pot, and it's just another. And they do this all the time, figuring that at some point they're going to push it through. I don't know why they bother. There's one that requires again that 5-year renewal on pistol licenses. They've been trying that for years. Another one, this one really kills me. Liability for legal firearm retailers when criminals misuse firearms. I can't stand that. Guns don't kill people, people kill people. So if somebody goes and buys a 22 at Walmart and uses it in a crime, Walmart could be liable for that crime. Outlawing the private sale and transfer of long guns, it's meaningless. The size has nothing to do with what the gun is capable of in this case. Outlaw the sale of handguns not equipped with so-called child-proofing devices. Child-proofing devices have been proven to be ineffective, most specifically ineffective in the purpose of a handgun, which is self-defense. When someone's bashing down your door, it's very difficult to unlock your child-proof case. Another one, prohibiting gun shows on public property. Wow. Preventing any firearm they deem unsafe. Because we know that these legislators are all gun experts. If they deem it unsafe, they will not allow it to be transferred into the state. Requiring ammunition coding or serialization, that's that printing I talked about last year, and there's more on that in another bill further down here on this list. Let's see, we've got prohibiting firearms from being available for self-defense in the home. What is that? What is the point of having any guns in the state? I would love to know who came up with that one. That one's called Assembly Bill 3340, outlawing affordable handguns commonly used for self-defense. Affordable. Okay. Prohibiting keeping firearms available from the so-called expo, the gun shows. They want to. There's no evidence whatsoever that crimes are being committed from guns sold at gun shows. It's a non-issue. expanding the state's ban on so-called assault weapons to include virtually all semi-automatic rifles and pistols that can accept detachable magazines. That's just about every pistol that a lot of the gun owners own, 45s, 357s. Outlawing the sale of semi-automatic handguns not equipped with that micro-stamping, which is similar to the other stamping of the actual gun. The micro-stamping is supposed to bore a specific code into the bullet as it is shot out of that in that diameter. So keep an eye on that. You never know if for some strange reason these things they'll get pushed through. We should keep an eye on it. Other state news. In Tennessee, which if New York keeps this up, I would love to move to Tennessee. I have family there. Luckily, they've been able to not be affected by the floods. I really was thinking that I just don't feel like the media is covering this enough. It's really incredible. 10,000 people out of power, 1,000 people living in emergency shelters, and 29 people killed by either the water or tornadoes. So still a lot of work ahead for the people in Tennessee. You can text the Red Cross, by the way, 90999, and you can donate $10 to disaster relief in Tennessee. And other state news out of Philadelphia last week, the Department of Human Services is in a little trouble in Pennsylvania. They had a girl in their care, in foster care, who was being taken care of by a foster mother, and they took her out for an abortion without the mother's consent. She was 24 weeks pregnant. The abortion had to be done in New Jersey, and she was taken there for the abortion. The foster care employee did not contact the girl's foster mom, who couldn't find her all day and panicked when she didn't come home from school. The girl walked through the door at 8:30 that night, and her foster mom said, "Where have you been? What's going on?" And the girl replied, "My baby is dead." Apparently there was another worker for DHS that refused to take this girl out for an abortion because she knew she didn't want to, and she knew that the foster mother did not want to. This worker was fired, and another one took over the case and proceeded to transport her across state lines against her mother's wishes to have a surgical procedure. The unfortunate thing about this is that the DHS spokesperson is saying, "Oh, this is no big deal. This isn't par for the course. This isn't part of policy," and they're really kind of dismissing it. Deputy Mayor Donald Schwartz of the DHS said that the agency does not coerce young women or teenagers to have abortions. "We have a duty to assure that women under our care have the same rights as other young women, particularly regarding reproductive health." Another interesting fact about this, Tony Perkins, who's the head of the Family Research Council, said that unfortunately these are not isolated incidents. Of the 335 girls who became pregnant under DHS's care in Pennsylvania, almost a third of them abort. A third of them, which is higher than the national rate of 1/4. Half of those particular abortions are actually done by a judge's order. So you can take these girls to court, and the judge can basically force them to have an abortion against their will, or at least against the will of their parents. So people are keeping an eye on that in Pennsylvania. I know everybody's been paying attention to the oil spill. I found some interesting facts about oil spills in general, as well as the biggest oil spill that the world has ever seen, which was not Exxon Valdez and is not this one we've currently had. The biggest oil spill we've ever had in the world was when the Iraqi forces spilled 6 billion gallons of oil when they left Kuwait in '91. And the amazing thing about that was an article written in 1993 from New York Times, talking about the 2 years that had passed since that oil spill, and they said it did little long-term damage. They said things looked pretty good. There was few unequivocal oil pollution effects attributed solely to the 1991 spills. This comes from the New York Times, 1993. Half of the oil evaporated. 1 million barrels were recovered, and 2 to 3 million barrels washed ashore, which is what everyone is worried about. But they found that the coral and the fish and everything else seemed to rebound within 2 years. That 2 years later, there was little or no evidence that anything had even occurred in that sea. Also, it would take 470 years if that oil kept spilling every day from as we see in this recent oil spill. The oil would have to spill every day for